liquor, that radio version. You know.
Welcome to Rap, a conversation. I'm Sean Hernandez.
And I'm Leo de Samaniego.
We asked Mr. Sanchez for his opinion on the rap from his day in contrast to the rap from our day. This is his take on rap.
A lot of the stuff that I used to listen to when I was a kid was the rap back then was a little bit more angry. As far as I understand, it was angrier, but it was more representational, and it was an artistic form in that it was trying to communicate with the people what it felt, certain injustices and stuff like that, and they would retaliate. So I want to be careful. Of course, I never did any retaliation myself. I never believed in any of the retaliation, but I did appreciate that they would notice these inequalities, these injustices, that still go on to this day. And again, I don't condone any of the violence or drugs or anything that's going to come out in this here. So please, it's just the stuff that I remembered listening to back in those days.
One of Mr. Sanchez's points was that rappers back then spoke on inequalities and injustices, whereas to rappers today don't.
Okay, so one of the songs from Tupac that I really enjoyed was Pour Out a Little Liquor. And one of the lyrics, it says, I started young, kicking dust, man, and living rough. You watch your mouth around my mama because you couldn't cuss, man. We ran the streets and on the scene at the age of 14. I like that stuff because it started out young, kicking dust, man. So kicking dust for me kind of means like you weren't accepting the status quo. If everyone else was obeying and just like not asking questions and just going. I like that he goes, you had to watch your mouth around my mama. You couldn't cuss, man. Back in those days, as rough as it got and as gangster and, as it was back then, there were drive-bys back in the day. There were gangs. But people respected their parents. So, which is kind of weird because I don't know how much respect kids show for their parents. I don't know. I don't think it's a lack of respect. I think it's just a lack of interest from kids with their adults. Nowadays, what I do notice is a lot of adults and teachers have given up, and the kids are kids, and so they're going to behave like kids do. But if the adults have given up and the kids are still kind of misbehaving and not caring, there's nothing there anymore, I feel. And it's weird because then you don't rise. And then, well, what kind of society are we building for ourselves? Because you guys are going to be the new old soon enough, And one of the lyrics is that I got my back against a brick wall, trapped in the circle, boxing with them suckers till my knuckles turn purple. Mama told me, son, there'll be days like this. I love that. Every single part of it. I love the whole part where he says, I got my back against a brick wall, trapped in the circle. That's like life and challenges and not being easy and being in risky situations, whether they were outright risky and you shouldn't have been doing them, or just somewhat risky, kind of going out there and fighting against the world with got my back against a brick wall, trapped in the circle, boxing with the suckers till my knuckles turn purple. So you were fighting, you were putting up a fight, that could mean so many things. I mean, if it was something you believed in, you were fighting for what you believed in, whether it was hopefully not physical fighting, but whether it's in your work and your effort and your attention and your care with the people you work with. I work with you guys, right? And I think you guys see that I care and I push forward and I always try to give a good message. And I see that. I see myself still. I mean, I got my back against a brick wall. I'm against a brick wall. A lot of kids don't care. Trapped in the circle, there's a bunch of kids boxing with these suckers till my knuckles turn purple. A lot of y'all don't care. It doesn't matter what we say anymore. We could be yelling and not yelling, but trying to relay a message until our faces are purple because we're running out of breath. And if y'all don't care, it's hard, but we still try. And we still try every day. There's a song I didn't mention to you guys. It's called Papa's Song. My dad was always around, thank God. But a lot of family, a lot of friends didn't have their dad. And currently, a lot of kids, still run through the situation. And Papa's Song, it talks a lot about that.
Another one of Mr. Sanchez's points made was rap back then would tackle serious issues instead of ignoring them the way rappers do today. What he would mean by ignoring them is, for example, Lil Pump's Gucci Gang. Or you could take just about any rapper nowadays that is too involved with materialism, and they don't speak on anything with substance. This is the old heads' main point always made against today's generation of rap, that rappers today show lack of interest in world issues and using their voice and their platform to project it into a wide audience to spread a positive message or an important one.
In the rap back then, it would tackle these topics. It wouldn't run away from them. It wouldn't wash it with just a lot of fun stuff. I don't know what Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci. It's like, what is that saying? I don't understand. But again, it might be deeper. I don't want to rag on the rap today. I don't want to come across that. But I guess maybe it's just harder to understand for older people. But I'm open to listening to it, you know. Send me a papa before puberty. So send me somewhat like a fatherly figure before puberty. The things I wouldn't do to see a piece of family unity. I was very lucky. I thank God. I have good things of my childhood, and I have things that were rough, just like everyone else. But having a dad around at least was one of those things that I was lucky to have. The chances of you not having a father and the impact that has on you as a child, especially growing up into an adult. He talks about like, how can you be a man if you don't? It's hard, because then like, who does become your role model, right? As far as I could see, I grew up in Eagle Pass and Fruitland, Idaho simultaneously. So I got to be in a 98% population that was Hispanic. And then I got to be in a, 95% population that was not Hispanic. That was, I guess, Anglo, let's say. And I never experienced any hardcore acts of aggression because of my ethnicity. But I did experience some forms of them.
Mr. Sanchez was able to relate with what these people said,
and took refuge in the lyrics of Tupac Shakur during his adolescence.
But back then it was more real, because there wasn't much else.
The way Mr. Sanchez speaks about what people like Tupac said shows how close he was to these idols of his back then.
You had to really dwell with bad stuff sometimes if something bad happened. So lyrics were there, and that's why they stuck with me a little bit longer, maybe. Because there wasn't that many things to go around. I had one CD. You'd listen to that thing for weeks or months. That stuff was like, as a kid, listening to that, it just kind of felt like he was talking to me or to us, or it kind of felt like you were jiving, like, wow, that's very interesting. I don't feel so alone. I highly doubt that any of the songs that we hear nowadays talk about judgment, death, and inequality. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I am.
One example to use about a rapper that does tackle serious issues is Logic. On his junior album Everybody, he tackles serious issues such as social injustices, sexism, racism that he has personally faced as a biracial member of the rap community.
Like that one Pain song, I couldn't help but notice your pain. My pain, it runs deep, the guy says. Share it with me. No one wants pain anymore. No one, even their own pain, they can't stand. Much less sharing someone else's to make their load slightly more bearable to deal with.
Mr. Sanchez jumped at the opportunity of speaking on the rap of his day.
Growing up, this music meant a lot. I personally, I guess I just wanted an excuse to sit down and even just think about what it meant to me. That isn't all the music I used to listen to, but I think it was one of the more impactful things that I listened to. But I do wish that at least I knew more of music today that was not afraid to touch hard subjects and that would reflect. But I don't think it's a reflection upon the rappers themselves. I think it's more of a reflection upon our society and where we are and how we're kind of, I feel, losing it in a way.
Even if you think rap back then was all about gangsters and violence and pleasure, it still has this meaning to people, like Mr. Sanchez, about the inequalities of life.
Some say the blacker the better, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh and the deeper the roots. I give a holler to my sisters on welfare. Tupac kids